Shift Podcast. Solo Shift Podcast is for the working single mother who is struggling in survival mode, but yet and still yearn to reach the point of her break and leap into the state to thrive. If you guys are not aware of what we do on this podcast, we are the most electrifying, motivating, inspiring / action taking podcast for working single mothers. If I were you, get a pen, get a paper, get the best headphones ever, earpods ever. Stick with me, join me. Link is in the bio somewhere. Subscribe when you have hit a point of yes, this episode is for me and I deserve to listen to this. Of course, you do deserve to listen to it. I hope you know that. Yeah. And stay tuned because what I'm about to share with you is something that I took my time to reach out to working single mothers to dive into our frustrations, but not just dive into it, but to also get solutions to it. Okay? And one of the things that we fear is we fear judgment of establishing boundaries. So today we are about to break down the 6 reasons why single mothers fear judgment of establishing boundaries. My question to you is, do you know why? If you don't know why, this episode is for you. And because this episode is for you, I want you to take out the time to listen. Because one thing I don't want you to do ever in life, I struggle with this. And now that we're in this space, I want you to gain everything that you can get from this episode and do your best. You heard me? I'm not saying putting pressure on yourself. I'm not asking you to put pressure on yourself. I'm just asking you to do your best. Doing your best is all that you can do for you, for yourself. But then again, you'll be asking yourself, what is my best? Go down to your blackboard, get a pen and paper, jot down, what does my best look like for me? And how is it going to serve me? Is the very first thing that I need you to do. Welcome to 2025 episode of these breakdowns. So here's how we're going to go moving forward, right? We're going to dive into these frustrations, but we're just not diving into it. We are coming up with solutions. So from time to time, you will see me with a co-host and you will see me without a co-host. Okay. But when we have a co-host, we might just, brush off into a topic that we feel that you also need in your life. But then I will come on the back end with a twist, with a pivot for us to stay on track. So let's get right into today's topic. I previously said this, stick with me, fear of judgment for establishing boundaries. Do you know why working single mothers have those fears? Here's why. Single working mothers often feel fear of judgment, right? For establishing boundaries. And it's all because of the deep rooted. When I say deep rooted, it's something as far as we all know, deep rooted societal expectation, as far as gender role and internal pressure. Why do we have internal pressure? Why do we always have internal pressure when it comes to our expectations? Why? Do you know why we always have internal pressure? It's because we haven't identified who we are. Yes. Yes. It's because we're a lack of self-belief in who we are. Yeah. Yeah. And it all stems from, sometimes it could be childhood. Okay. But as we grow out of those behaviors, those once learned behavior, and start to unlearn them, we get back on track. If you were once told that you are not good enough, that behavior, those words stuck with you, and you start to do things, right? Because it simply starts as this. You hear it, you believe it, and you act upon it. So how can you unlearn those habits as an adult? Like I once told you, you go back to the drawing board, I heard this thing about myself. Is it true? It's hard. You start to unlearn and break habits that you once was taught. Someone told you is how you break those habits. Is it true about me? I'm looking at myself in the mirror. Yes, you believe it because it came from someone who you trusted. It came from someone who once loved you. It came from someone who you believe. It came from someone who once gave you that self assurance, that validation. That is why you believe it. But how can you unlearn those habits? By simply telling yourself that is not who you are. It's not who you stand for. And here's how we can break down, or here's how we're going to break down those things, right? Okay, the breakdown of those internal beliefs I just give you, those breakdown, right? One of the worst breakdowns to ever have is culture and societal expectations. And culture and societal expectations often glorify self sacrifice in mothers, expecting them to always be available for their kids, yeah, for their jobs and also for others. When a single mother starts to set limits, for example, like saying no to overtime or declining societal obligations, oh my God, it can be a clash, a big old clash within the super mom believes that societal have set the super mom expectation. Because when you're a super mom, you're a superhero. By the way, I don't know if anyone told you this. Single working mothers are one of the silent superhero that I have ever known. You did not sign up for this at all. If you did, I don't think you understood the effect that it was going to have on you. You were blindsided because you chose to put yourself first. And when you decided to put yourself first, the guilt of you putting yourself first sometimes outweigh your personal belief that it makes you want to run back to where you ran from. But if you're here right now with me, I want to give you a round of applause and tell you thank you for not believing that you can always be broken, for always going into the places and things that serves you right. Okay? I want you to understand that there is no hood like a single motherhood, but yet and still, you are built for this. Think about it. Let me just, get off track a little bit, but we're still on track, but I'm just going to pivot. I want you to see yourself as this. We often feel the need, right, to be strong. We often feel the need to always validate other people. We often feel the need to always be there for other people and put ourselves last. I don't know why. And we often feel that we need to be uplifted or we need to feel motivated by other people. I hate to say this to you, but no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to save you. I repeat, no one is coming to save you. And let me break down why no one is coming to save you, okay? You were meant for this role. You're looking at me, or you're probably asking yourself, why would she even say that? I never believed that I was meant to play this role. I didn't believe it. But now, do I regret? No. Did I learn? Yes. I have no regrets on my journey. And here is why. If you were not designed for the role, opportunities, blessings will not come your way. They would not come your way. If you were not in this position to be a working single mother, you will not be a problem solver. You will not be the one in this space. Because you know what? The universe knows what it's doing. If you don't believe that, back away from your role and see who's going to play it for you. No one else. So on this journey of navigating single working motherhood, I want you to cultivate discipline. But I also want you to cultivate consistency. You might be looking at me like, how can I do that? And here is how we do it. You do not lean on motivation to cultivate discipline. You sure do not lean on motivation to cultivate consistency. Motivation is just like a feeling, right? And it is a feeling. It's like the weather, up and down. Today is raining, tomorrow the sun might shine. The next day it might be spring. The following day leaves are falling. I want you to keep going. When you keep going and create discipline, and discipline is not asking you to be perfect, mother. No, discipline is not asking you to come out always looking your best. No, all it's asking you for is to simply build consistency, progress, the little effort that you can put in to be successful, to identify what your success stands for and what your success can bring to you at the time of cultivating discipline. And when you cultivate discipline, when you cultivate consistency, when I tell you the biggest thing that you are fighting against that no one has ever laid down in front of you is something that we all struggle with, sometimes as mothers or sometimes as humans. It's the big brother, but the common denominator, which is procrastination. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me today that when you are disciplined enough to keep pushing, to build resilience, you do not feel the need to procrastinate because you're on top of your shit. Let me just say that. Yes, you're on top of it. You keep going. And it's how we do it. It's how we keep doing it for ourselves. One of the things, or one of the reasons why single mothers, and this is two, right? We're on number two. This is why single working mother have a big fear of establishing boundaries for themselves, right? They fear establishing boundaries in something or a place like workplace, the workplace. I want you to understand one thing. I want you to understand that your job is your job. Your profession is your profession. But I also want you to identify who you are away from your job. I understand that your job is the sole income that is coming for you. It is. This is where you build your income. This is how you provide for your children, right? This is how the resources, financial resources, has been flowing in your life from time to time. And I must say this, if you do not set boundaries at work, you don't know who you are. And how do you set boundaries at work? Setting boundaries at work or like in your workplace will cause something that is going to break you down. And this is what breaks us down, right? As working single mothers. It's something like workplace stigma. In the professional settings, single working mother may feel, and this is a feeling that some of us have had, we feel fear. The fear of being labeled as unreliable, less committed to the position. And the reason why we feel that way is because of societal stigma. They believe that once we have a child or once they get to know that you are a single working mother, you might not be committed to the job. You might have to leave work early. You just might have to leave work to get your child. You just might have to leave work go to the babysitter to pick up your child when they're sick. You just might have to leave work for something that is very vital, something that is very important to you as far as self-care, mental day. But they would not understand that because they are signing that check for you to pay you. So they believe that you are obviously a slave to their job because you signed that contract when you accepted that role to play. So for you to just get up and set boundaries at work, societal stigma is going to be presented to you. Workplace stigma is going to be presented to you. But how do we break that? How do we find our way around the difficulties? It's by simply being assertive and start to assert boundaries around time management and let them know this is the hour that I set. This is what I sign up for. I'm not available for overtime this week. I'm not available to be on call this week. I'm not available to give out my mental peace this week. Do they need all this explanation? Simply hell no. They do not need all those expectations or explanations from you. They might need the expectation from you, but the explanation, no, they do not need it. I want you to understand who you are as a working single mother. I want you to see the best in you. I also want you to see that because you are a working single mother and because that no one is coming to save you on your journey, prioritize yourself. Put yourself first. Let me tell you how great you are. And before I get into your greatness, if this episode has resonated with you so far, that you are now here and willing, sitting there writing everything down, getting all these pointers to take action, I want you to subscribe. I want you to leave in the comment that I am making change. I am setting boundaries. I am taking this pivot in my life. We're just not here to play the role. We're also here to care for self. We're also here to put ourselves first. I learned this from my mentor. I learned this from the great woman who the universe decided to bring me into this world, which is my mother, right? My mother is or was a woman. God bless her soul and rest her soul in peace. My mother is this woman who taught herself through being a working mother. Yeah. Yes, my dad was available. Yes, my dad was at home. He was also a man who worked. My mom was also a woman who worked. But listening to my mom tell me how she put herself through school to be a midwife, even though her husband did things for her, they worked as partners. My mom always wanted something for herself. She always wanted to lay that foundation that in case anything happened, that if her husband didn't have it, she always had it as a backbone. I want to give you these words of encouragement, right? When you set boundaries, you're no longer allowing other people to treat you as a doormat. When you set boundaries, you are no longer allowing other people to determine what your happiness is. When you set boundaries, you are giving yourself freedom into your mental health, into your mental stability, into your mental breakthrough. When you set boundaries, you're understanding who you are. But here's the worst thing about boundaries, I feel, when we set them. Are you open to the backlash of boundaries? Are you truly open? Because as a working single mother, we tend to overly compensate, right? Well, yeah, our children will break us and we will break the boundaries. We sometimes feel like when we set boundaries, even at home, we won't break those boundaries, or we tend to slack off on the boundaries because, yeah, we birthed this child. We want to keep a friendship. No, sis, let me tell you, back up, back out of it, back out of slacking on your boundaries, even for your child. Because you know what happened? When you do not stand firm on your boundary, you simply sit there with the guilt. The after effect is the guilt. When you allow other people to treat you like a doormat, it's simply because you slack off. You give yourself that slack off the boundary. You release the slack off the boundary to allow other people to walk all over you and walk all over your boundaries and do whatever it is that they want to do. When you give the slack off your boundaries, or when you let that slack go off your boundary, you never give yourself the opportunity to fully tap into your higher self, to get to know who you are. So setting boundaries allow you as a working single mother to get to know who you are. to understand who you are. And the danger of that might just be to put the cap on it and say, no, I'm not allowing this. I'm going to put my foot down. And I'm also not going to allow anyone in my space at this time. Setting boundaries might just mean that, okay, I don't have no information for another single mother. Because giving them the opportunity or giving them the wisdom that you have cultivated for yourself to raise your child is different from how they're going to raise theirs. They have to learn. So setting boundary might just mean you say no to another person. Setting boundaries might just say, okay, I'm willing to go through the hurt if you reject me. I'm willing to go through the hurt if you're no longer going to validate me. Because you are depending on yourself to validate yourself. You're depending on yourself to make things happen for you. I'm going to give you a brief story. When I was graduating from college with my associate degree, I solely looked forward to my oldest child being at my graduation. And it's something that crushed me before, but it also built that oomph that you can keep going. You do not need this from your child. You got this. This is for you. You did it for you. And back to the story. So I remember I had a few family members who came to show support. But being that I was so much in my head of my oldest seeing me walk the stage to be his role model, I forgot I forgot to enjoy the moment. I forgot to understand that I did this for myself. I put in the time to study. I put in the time to pass the exam. I put in the time to walk the stage and let myself know I did it for me. I missed out on those moments of being in the present, all because I was so focused on my kid being here to see me as his role model. I missed that time, all because I did not know or I didn't understand how to validate self-validation. I could have simply said, girl, you did this for you. You did that for you. But now in this space, I had an awakening. And I said, wow, I needed to know this information. I needed to go through that time to understand that I do not need validation from the outside world. I do not need validation, not even from my child or children. The validation is within me. The validation is me because I do this every day. The validation is the point to where I break to build resilience. It is me who's cultivating this validation for me. And I kept going. I kept going. So I had to set that boundary to understand that even if my kid or even if the outside world does not clap for me, I should be the one with the loudest clap in my head to keep going. And I want you to feed off the story. I want you to keep going. And I want you to understand that on your journey of setting boundary, no one is going to clap for you. No one is going to be there to give you that prompt that you need to keep going. Now, as we dive down into our third topic that we find to be the most scariest thing, because we do not want to see ourselves as a parent who lack on parenting. We have the worst thing that we do for ourselves is something as parental guilt. Yes, we do have parental guilt. Don't come over here and say that you don't feel guilty. You haven't felt guilty as a mom. You haven't felt guilty when you did something for your child that you knew very well you set your boundaries, but then you took off the whole slack. You took the band off to release the boundary. If you tell me that you don't feel parental guilt, I would tell you, go sit down and rethink your life as a single working mother. I would simply tell you that because parental guilt is experienced by many mothers who feel guilty about not being able to give 100% of their time to their children, especially with limited time and resources. So setting boundary is like taking time from ourselves or enforcing limits with our children, and that can put us in a place of feeling selfish, even with something as necessary that we need as time for ourselves. We feel that we're not meeting our child's well-being. So when we set boundaries with our children, we slack off. But I just want to ask you this, right? When you don't have boundaries as a parent, how are you putting yourself first? Just how are you putting yourself first? Because we have given our children the opportunity to break our boundaries. And then when they break our boundaries, we sit there and say, oh, they do not have self respect for us. They do not respect us in no way. Did you set your boundaries? Did you set your boundaries? Our children are like sponges, right? They see us, they suck up this information from us. They look up to us. Some of them do. And because they look up to us, we need to understand that we need to put ourselves first. And putting yourself first might just be like this. For me, I'm going to give you my way of putting myself first. Even when my children were little, I always took out the time. Back then, we had Tybo. I was always into working out. I would take out 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes when that child is, when that child is asleep to work out. I would take out time to read a book. I would take out time to meditate. At the time, I didn't even know what I was doing because I was like 20, 21. But anything that brought me peace, I would do it. Anything that brought me happiness, I will do it. And when I didn't do those things, I found myself being very groggy. I found myself to be uninterested. To me, I found parenting to be something as, evil back then. I'm like, okay, I'm, like giving you too much of my time. So it's like, yeah, I need my time back. But when I started to implement little things that brought me happiness, parenting became a smooth sailing journey for me. And to this day, when I tell you my boundaries is as firm, but I also had to get to that breaking place because it has never been easy. I'm not going to sit here and tell you a lie that, oh, yeah, it's been hunky dory and it's been perfect. No. Because if I feel that bull, you will be looking at me like, no, you're telling me something that we both know is not true. There were times where I didn't feel the best. I didn't feel my best because I refused to put myself first. Did I consciously do it? No. It was something that I didn't understand about parenting. It was something that I didn't understand about myself. So until I could identify those things about me, something as simply as I have to give myself the best. I have to love on me. And the love that I give me is a love that the outside is going to see and reciprocate the same. And when they don't reciprocate the same, I know they're not meant to be in my corner. I determine who to let in my world when I set my boundaries. You know what I mean? I determine who to let go of. See, I want to be open, right? I want to be open to opportunities. I want to be open to letting people in. But at the same time, I want to have self awareness. And so when you come in here and make me feel uncomfortable, as I'm walking and as I'm healing on this journey, if you scratch the surface and make me feel uncomfortable, the exit is where you'll find yourself. That is why I'm open to accept people. I do not want to be the one to say, I'm not going to let people in my world. I'm not going to be around people. No, I'm going to love on people because I desire and deserve to be loved too. Number 4, if you're sticking with me, here comes number 4. Write this down. Your fear, right? The fear of just being, I know you're asking, like, the fear of being what? The fear of being perceived as you're hard. Yeah, the fear of being perceived as you're hard, you're unkind makes us hard. We're not hard. Working single mothers are not hard. I promise you, we are not hard. We might present to be hard because it's up here. We know that no one is coming to save us. So we might just present as being hard. But I'm here to tell you, sis, take off the mask. Take off the mask. The mask is not helping you. No, take it off. You're not hard. You are not unkind. You might just be firm in the moment with your children. Everything that you set as being hard, the mask that you put on to be hard, right? You go home and you feel guilty. You go home and you start to have those thoughts in your head that, oh, I should have done this a little bit more different. But there's a flip side to it. The flip side is when we let those masks down, we sometimes lack trust that someone is going to step on us to break us again. So we put that hard, unkind mask on because we just feel that we need to be hard all the time. And because single mothers or single working mothers are often navigating parenting alone, they may avoid being too firm, right? With others who they fear could treat them as cold, as unappreciated, especially when they're dealing with like co-workers or ex-partners, family, or even their own kids. They might just feel like, okay, I think I need to be hard for my children to listen to me. Or I think I need to be hard for my ex-partner to know that I no longer care. You don't have to be all that. You sure don't have to be all that. Be yourself. Set your boundaries and stand firm with it. Set your boundaries and let your job know. I thank you for giving me the position. I've given this job my best. I have done the best that I can do. And the best that I can do is what I have been giving you. But I also want you to sit back, especially to my mothers with careers, right? When you apply for a job or for a certain position, that you know you are giving yourself, the company, the best. Like you are actually an asset to this company and not a liability. I'm not saying that those who do not have careers should just have no boundaries, right? The ones with careers and the ones without a career, I want you to still have your boundaries firm. I once worked in the warehouse and I didn't have firm boundaries. I know you're looking at me like, what did I do in the warehouse? Yes, I was once a machinist. Yes, I did that. I was once that girl who drove the forklift. I was once the girl who swept the floor after working. Yes. Until I went to school, I was that girl. Yes, I was that girl. And there is no part of me that is ashamed to even say that to you or even disclose this, like disclose this information to you because I feel like you deserve to know it. So I'm here to give this to you. And because I set my boundaries, I was able to say no to some overtime. I don't even care if the money was limited at the time or if the money was that good. I tapped into understanding my mental health because I need to be mentally ready for this job for the following day. I need to be mentally ready to go home to my children. I need to be mentally ready for a partner who is trying to get in my life. Like I needed to set those boundaries to understand what makes me happy, what drives happiness to me, what brings me mental clarity. Okay. So with that being said, let's dive into our fifth. If you're following me, we have been on the road, right? We went from one and now we're already at five. And number five will be the pressure of maintaining a relationship. And what is sometimes the pressure of maintaining a relationship? What is, like whether it's an extended family, co-partner or co-parenting, an employer, single mothers often feel the pressure of keeping the peace. Why do we feel that way? To maintain stability. A single working mother may avoid setting boundaries Why? Because they're worried that it will disrupt these important but most sometimes fragile relationship that they are trying to cultivate. When we set boundaries, if that relationship is not meant for you, when you set your boundaries, the relationship is going to go. But if the relationship is meant for you, they will understand. They will understand. If that relationship is meant for you, they will work with the boundaries that you are setting. If the job is meant for you, and if they understand you, they will understand that you are a human who is playing a role as a working single mother, and you believe in yourself. Because when you have boundaries, you see your self worth. You love who you are. You see yourself for everything that is meant to be for you, and then you take those things, and then you set your boundaries. They see it. Don't think they don't see it. But sometimes people will step on your boundaries to see if your boundaries is as firm as you think or want it to be, especially employers. They will do that. They'll tell you no and see, okay, I'll say no to her by simply taking her off future overtime when it's open. I'll say no to her when she needs to take time off work. I'll threaten her hours when she needs to get off work early to take her kid to doctor's appointment, to pick the child up from daycare, or to even take time off for herself. I'll tell her no. When you decide to set your boundaries, those are some of the challenges that we face. So those are some of the backlash that we face when we start to experience or when we start to establish boundaries. We fear those judgments. We fear the shaming that comes with it. We fear those things. If you're following me, we have been diving in to the 6 most fear that single mothers have when it comes to judging us, how we feel when we set boundaries, which is like the judgment for establishing boundaries. We have been covering those things, right? And we are here now at number 6. And number 6 is something that I want you to understand. It's where a lot of single working mothers think that we do not have, but we do have. The lack of support or validation without a partner. We feel that we do not have no support. We feel like we don't have no support. And it's simply because of our surroundings, right? Without a partner or without strong support system to go back to them, it's like we find it so difficult as a working single mother to just sit back and say, I have the support of this person, I have the support of the community. How do we cultivate that support? How do we break that limited belief of there's no one here to support us? I can tell you ways on how you can break those limited beliefs by cultivating a society of supporters. You are in this journey, or you are on this journey by yourself. You cultivate this thing in you. Create a community. Be the one to stand out. Even when you're afraid, do it alone. Even when you feel that no one is here to support you, do it alone because you're doing it anyway. Do it alone, but still stand firm on your boundaries when you're doing it alone. Do it alone and still feel that there's someone up there watching you. Do it alone and do it fiercely. Do it alone, but still understand that your boundaries, what won't they give you? That mental clarity, that self-validation, that boost, that resilience that you're cultivating in you. You know, I came across this quote that said that when a butterfly is transforming, the butterfly never sees the vibrant, beautiful, radiant color that is developing when it breaks out of the cocoon. Because, like in the time of transformation, the butterfly never sees itself. because it's dark. If you have ever seen a butterfly transform, it's always in this dark cocoon. And in the time of your darkness, you go through mental breakdown. In the time of your darkness, when you're transforming, you go through guilt. In the time of your transformation, you go through heartaches. In the time of your transformation, you go through so many things that the world do not see. And during your transformation, you are in the cocoon just like the butterfly. But when the butterfly breaks out of the cocoon, everybody sees the brilliance, the bright color that it has. As it flies away, everybody sees it. Do you think that butterfly is looking for someone to tell it you're ugly at the time of your transformation? Do you think it hears those words? No. It is developing under pressure. It is developing in the dark. And so are you. You are developing under pressure. You are developing in the dark. But when you break out, you break out with freedom. When you break out, you break out with awareness. When you break out with resilience. You break out with discipline. You break out with the most vibrant color that you have ever worked hard to cultivate. And many single mothers that I know now are reinforcing the feeling to cultivate a firm boundaries. If you have stuck with me to the end of this episode, I want to tell you thank you for sticking with me. I want to tell you thank you for cultivating the most firm boundaries that you can ever cultivate for you. But I also want you to go back to the blackboard and give yourself a definition as to why, or reason as to why setting boundaries is good for you. Why is it good for you? How can you break the fear of people judging you when you start to establish boundaries? How can you break that fear? When you break out of that mindset, what is it going to look like for you? I can give you every tool to implement right now, and I have given them to you. I have given you every possible word, every tool that I have used. It's up to you to implement those things in your life. It's up to you to take out the time to go to the blackboard and say, okay, this is why I fear when establishing boundaries. Here's what's going to happen to me. I know that people are going to walk away from me. I know the job is going to be sketchy. Okay. I know that relationships are going to break. Even when I even try to even say, no, I'm not going to this place just to keep my mental sanity, I know that people are going to walk away from me. But in the time of your transformation, in the time of you being in your cocoon, you are simply trying to break free, to transform into the best version of yourself. And if this episode meets you where you know that it's time to transform, like, share, follow, comment. Share it with someone that you know needs it. There is no hood like a single working motherhood. And thank you so much for being a part of this community and growing with us. I want you to understand and be aware, and hopefully you understanding that breaking free from the fear of judgment, of establishing boundaries, is only serving you the best and nothing but the best. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for coming to the end of this episode with us. We are currently on almost all social media platforms. We are. I think our highest following is on TikTok, and it is Solo Shift Podcast. We're also on Instagram as Solo Shift Podcast. We're also on YouTube as Solo Shift Podcast. Yes. And we're now on Twitter as Solo Shift Podcast. We're also on Facebook as Solo Shift Podcast. I want you to take out the time to make this episode your go-to. And don't forget, I love you, and I sure do love you. Have a great day, stay blessed, and I'll see you again.